Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday, April 12th, and we're going to talk about what's happening in the crypto market. So, I think the CPI was priced in pretty well yesterday. So, the market fell pretty precipitously yesterday because the CPI was set to come in years, and that beat the estimates of what they thought it was going to come. So, the market reacted favorably and started to come back up. Bitcoin shot up to about 40,000. Then it was scheduled to come in. Most people thought they started to talk. And every time the Fed talks these days, it just sends the markets into fear panic mode. I think most of the traders that are out there are in fairly big panic mode as it is, and trying to figure out how to play this market properly. So as soon as that actually happened, the market fell back into the red. The dollar dove, everything under the sun went down except for gold that spiked. Bond yields tumbled. Basically stocks tumbled, of course. So the rate hike expectations originally had fallen, and then when the Fed started talking, they started talking about higher rate hikes. So possibly a three quarters of a point, 750 basis point hike. So the markets tend to be pretty well tied right now. The crypto markets tend to be pretty well tied to the tech stocks. And we're looking for that to change, as these hikes take place. I think it'll push it further away because the two really shouldn't be tied together. Although there are tremendous things in common between crypto and tech. It is tech. I mean, at the end of the day, but it's also money freedom and a bunch of other things on top of that. It's banking, it's insurance. When you look at what DeFi is, and you look at smart contracts, and then you look at DAOs, you really are talking about charities. Replacing some of the normal way charities are run, so that money can be auto distributed based on a community, as opposed to what happens now, where the charity has large overhead. A lot of people are paid. So this way, the charity can run with the feedback of the people to allocate the money in the right way and not have that middleman through DAO. So to tie it specifically to tech, even though it is tech, it's more of a community type thing, is kind of a strange thing. I mean, it makes sense, but it makes more sense to decouple it. Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies are highly inflationary, but at the same time, that's a good thing. They'll move typically along with inflation. We see a pretty big delay on that, so it's not one to one. It actually tends to follow inflation. Anywhere 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road, you'll see the spikes. You can lay them on top of each other if you put a delay on it. Whereas if you look at it one to one, you'll be like, wait, there's no relation at all. There is actually a pretty big relation there. So Brainerd started talking. The market started to squeal, and here we are. Let me take a look at where we are. It's so funny when I start these things. I can look at the market, and then I come back to actually talk about it, and it's 200 points higher. By the time some of you hear it, it'll be even different. 39,527, 39,538. Look at that, changing dramatically. Some decent news, and again, this hasn't positively affected the price per coin, but Sol and a couple other Shiba Inu and some others were listed on Robinhood today. Robinhood really didn't have many coins. I don't think any trader worth their salt really likes Robinhood. It's more of for people that like trading stocks, because you don't even have a key. The wallets aren't really officially wallets. It's just sort of a weird sort of hybrid model that they've gone. I'm not a big fan. I don't think anybody in the crypto world is dying to get in and buy crypto with Robinhood. However, there's a lot of stock traders on there that might sell their stocks and be like, let me move it into crypto temporarily, and come back into stocks or not. So I think that it's a good thing. It'll definitely bring in more users, because Lord knows Robinhood has a lot of mini users, a large community of people that aren't necessarily the big. The 10-year auction hit with the ugliest tail in years. CPI rally faked out everybody, so everyone was all excited thinking this was going to work, and it just fell apart in the middle of everything. You're seeing supply chain issues. You're seeing food shortage things that are on the way. There's nothing really great as far as news in the market. The best chance right now really is pieces of news came out of it was a survey that was done of over 500 financial advisors, and desired to put more money into Bitcoin, assuming a spot ETF futures is fine with volatility, but spot, which is today, is not. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So I think there's some games being played there in order to work the legal angle so that the government can gain more control or a legal foothold into the crypto space. And so that's what's happening. In the XRP case, speaking of government and speaking of securities and speaking of maneuvering, so in the XRP case, there was a pretty big omission in exculpatory evidence. So one of the main players on the government side did not disclose that he had a financial stake in taking XRP to court. That's a big deal. You can't have a conflict of interest, be the one who pulls the trigger, not disclose that conflict of interest, and move this far into a trial. So the government's case is a disaster. If the government were a person, they'd probably be brought up on charges at this point. But certainly, XRP has submitted for the government for the judge to drop the case and for the government to cover all their legal expenses for about $14 million after you because they'll make money off of it. Basically, the court is really hammering on us on the SEC here, and I think that this case is going to go. The judge will allow that to happen. If it goes to a jury trial, it's just going to delay this for that much longer. And the reality is that there's a lot of XRP investors that are being harmed by the government and actually being tied into this case like it is. So you can't have a situation where the government's harming investors, disclosing it and lying about it. So the whole case doesn't look good, which is great news for the crypto market. The bigger lead we can take from being not tied into the government, with the exception of some of these spot ETFs, I don't see really any need for government to be involved in any of this. All they can do is screw things up, as we all know. The Elon Musk thing we discussed yesterday, he's out. He's got a lot more pull. He's got a lot more chance to make some positive impacts. He does not have a restriction on stock anymore. The market disagreed. Twitter stock went down when they found out that Elon was not going to be part of Twitter. I think the market misread the tea leaves on that one. This gives him much more influence, although they might say, hey, he might sell the stock. So there is that risk. But on the flip side, he could buy a hell of a lot more and do a hostile takeover, which would be awesome. Elon seems to at least value the free speech. How much of that is true or not remains to be seen. He certainly is cozied up to China for the purpose of Tesla. He's been doing a lot of buying of land for the purpose of Tesla so that he can offshore a lot of his manufacturing, and that helped the Tesla stock. So it's kind of hard to be, hey, on one side, I'm a big free speech advocate, and on the other side, I'm going to work with a communist government that doesn't believe in free speech at all. And I'm going to make all my money that way. At some point, your influence by that communist government becomes a problem and a bit of a conflict of interest for the American people. That plays out. We'll keep you keep you in the loop on that. Terra bought 176 more million in Bitcoin. It doesn't seem to be helping the price, as I pointed out. The market is still reacting negatively based on all this bearish news about raising the rates even higher. They're really trying to get ahead of inflation, but they waited so long. I mean, the problem is everybody was lying, saying that this inflation was transitory when it clearly wasn't. You can't print yourself into prosperity. And at this point, our financial system's broken. Even raising the rates means our interest that we have to pay on that money goes up, and you're basically printing money to pay for the interest. And from the Fed's point of view and from the U.S. government's point of view, if they can devalue the money, then what they actually have to pay back is a lot less. So if for example, they owe 30 trillion, but then they devalue that money, so it's worth 10%. Really, they only owe 3 trillion. And if they can somehow take that back from property, people's assets, and destroy a few million people along the way in the middle class, so be it. But at least that way, they don't owe 30 trillion of a very powerful dollar. They'll owe 30 trillion of a much weaker dollar, which is actually worth a lot less money. So what they're doing is they're basically stealing from you and I, which is again why crypto and why Bitcoin is so amazing. Not all crypto, but Bitcoin in particular, because it's limited supply to 21 million. That's the main pieces of information. I think what we're going to see from the chart, and I've been again, following these things. I'll tell you what what I've seen, what I've heard, is that the bottom should be around 38, maybe at the lowest 37. If Bitcoin can stay above 39.5, that's a good thing. And then apparently we're looking to see a decent size. Of course, market conditions aside, a lot can happen, but the historical data aligns pretty well for a pretty big spike. I've also seen some other converse points where it says Bitcoin may go down to 30 again, which of course is possible. So it's either going to break down through that 37 range, and then the next stop is 32 to 30, or it's going to stay at 39.5 or above on average, and it's going to spike. Either way, it's going to be a ride. This is not a short-term play. If you're in this for a couple day trading things, and you're a better person than I am, I wouldn't have the wherewithal or the stomach for that. But as a plan to keep this for the next 5 to 10 years, there's no better investment in the world right now, in my opinion. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and we'll do this again tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have better news for you soon. Bye-bye.